Well, it's 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at across the country. Guys, my name's Emily Baker. I'm your MAPS coach, and I'm super excited to be here with my partner, Alexis Wygan. Today, we're going to hear the top 5 strategies of a mega listing agent. So when inventory is low, our one goal, guys, is to go take market share and take those listings. So we're going to hear some great strategies for you to do that today. I just want everyone to know that this call is being recorded. So please be respectful, mute yourself. We are going to have Q&A at the bottom of the hour for 10 to 15 minutes. So again, this call is being recorded and it will be shared with you in an email. Thank you to our mastery clients. You all will be also receiving this in your MAPS newsletter email as well.
Hey,
So
Alexis, you're muted.
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Hey guys, I'm Alexis. I'm your MAPS coach. I lead one of the top real estate groups here in San Antonio, Texas, and I am super excited and grateful to be here with you all.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to go ahead and get started with the top 5 success strategies of a mega listing agent. So Alexis, tell us what is strategy number 1?
Yep, strategy number 1, as Gary Keller teaches us, is time blocking. It's really getting clear on your calendar and just making sure that you know what you're doing for the day and what you're doing for the week.
Yeah, that's right. Recently, Gary shared that if there was one thing that would make an agent be successful, that one thing would be time blocking and sticking to your schedule. It's really easy to say too, guys. I mean, you know, we've all been in the trap of, you know, not sticking to our time blocks or not putting things on our calendar. And yet, when we follow a schedule and when we have things like lead generation, lead follow-up, practicing scripts and role play, having your appointments lined out throughout your day, right? I go on listing appointments at 1:30, 3:30, or 5:30. When you're that clear, what then happens in your business, right, Alexis? Tell us a little bit about your team's schedule and what you do.
Yeah. So our calendar is on repeat, right? So every morning we have practice. We do role play for about an hour. And then we all roll into our lead gen and our lead follow-up. Then we have lunch. And then just like Emily just said, so I'm still the lead listing agent on my team. And I've got listing appointments Monday through Friday, 1:30, 3:30, 5:30. My favorite time personally is 3:30. So I usually do a really great job setting expectations that I either have, right, a Tuesday or a Wednesday at 3:30 p.m., which would they prefer? But what I want you all to hear is my calendar stays the same. There is so much to gain from consistency. And when you know your calendar and your team knows your calendar, everything just starts to align.
Yeah, that's so true. So when it comes to schedule and when it comes to time blocking, you know, one of the questions that you know, us coaches get asked all the time is, what specifically do I put on my schedule, right? Like, I know I should lead generate every day from 9 to noon. Does it really need to be on my schedule? Alexis, if someone were to ask you that, what would you say?
100%. Yes. Right? Like, even as a lead listing agent right now, I've got tons of clients who have been blowing me up from the weekend. And everyone on my team knows we don't do negotiations. We don't do client care. We're doing lead generation, lead follow-up in the morning. And they know when I can get back to those clients so they can set those expectations on when those phone calls can happen. But guys, if it's not on your calendar, it just doesn't exist. So yes, 100% get it on your calendar, name it, so that you have clarity.
Yeah, I like to even go as far as identifying for the next week who I'm going to call. So, for some of you, if your business is really heavy on past client and sphere, maybe that's do the database to system that, we learn in Bold and, some great systems around targeting 2 letters of the alphabet in your database and reaching out asking for referrals. Maybe it's that that you're listing a property next week, or maybe you just got, one of your buyers under contract this week and you want to circle call or maybe door knock for those of you who can, right? Some of that's changed for some of us. And yet, getting clear on what lead generation and lead follow-up activities that you're doing in your time blocks versus just having lead gen, lead follow-up. Let's get really clear on, I'm calling these people in my database on Monday. I'm reaching out to FSBOs and expireds on Tuesday. I do this on Wednesday. Clarity is power, and we know that what we focus on expands. So when you can get really clear, you guys, in your time blocking and what's on your schedule, then we don't have to think about, oh, well, what kind of lead generation activity? How many of us have got caught in the trap of having lead gen or lead follow-up on our calendar? And then, we've spent 45 minutes just figuring out who we were going to call.
Yeah. And also, guys, this works with your current clients. So we have it scheduled in Monday through Friday, and our listing managers, like, their favorite calls are on Friday because those are our gratitude calls, right? But I already know which calls they're making to existing clients, right? Either our coming soons, our actives, our pendings, our past client gratitude. We have that calendared out Monday through Friday. So we don't just hop on to okay, well, this is client care. Well, which kind of client care are we doing?
Yeah, I love that, Alexis. And it all starts, you guys, from just taking the time every single week to sit down and plan out your calendar. So all it takes is taking that 30 to 45 minutes and just getting very clear on your time blocking and on your calendar every single week. So, let's move on to success strategy 2. So we've time blocked our calendar. What's the next strategy?
Okay, guys, this is really fun because we call this LTP MAMA. And this is a script that you are probably thinking, wait, I thought this was a buyer script. However, we use this for our seller scripts as well. And really quickly, I'm going to run through this, and then we'll come back up and we'll go through them. Edits, location, timeline, price, motivation, agency, mortgage, and appointment. Does that sound familiar to you guys from a buyer script? Because it should. So on location, right, whether this is an outbound call that you're making to a for sale by owner or expired, or it's an inbound, right, the first thing we want to know is, great, what location are you calling on, right? Like, is this your personal residence? Is this a second home? What's the location that we're talking about? And then timeline, and Emily, jump in here if you want to on any of this, but so it's like ring, great, super excited. What's the address of your house that you're calling on? By when ideally would you want to make a move? By when would you want to be on the market and ready for showings, right? Just clarity around their ideal timeline. And then price, right? What is their price range? So on a buyer side, right, we're looking at what price they want to buy in. On a seller side, we're going, okay, well, realistically, what do you think top dollar is for your house in today's market? What do you think it's going to sell for? And then motivation, right? So out of curiosity, what does this move do for you? When we sell your house, where are you going to be moving to? Work in those assumptive phrases. And then agency, right? So out of curiosity, are you guys going to be interviewing multiple agents for the job to sell your house? And if they say yes, you say, okay, great. So by when would you like to have a decision made? Because we know that we never want to go first. So if they say, well, I want to have a decision made by the end of the week, you go, okay, by Friday. And they said, yep, we want to have a decision made. So great, I'm going to be booking a 3:30 p.m. on Friday to make sure that I can absolutely close them. And then mortgage, right? There's two parts to this. What is their payoff? Do they have the house fully paid off? We want to be able to understand their current financial situation. and we want to know where they're moving to. Okay, so when we sell your house, do you want the equity out to buy your next house? Is this a local move? Right? We want to get clarity on the financials on their current house and also how they're buying their second house. And then the last one's my favorite, right? Close for the appointment. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm super excited for the opportunity to meet with you both. I've got a 3:30 on Tuesday or a 3:30 on Wednesday. Which one works best for you all? That's the script. How easy was that, Emily?
Yeah, that's why this is my favorite pre-qualification, and really, you guys, the only seller pre-qualification script that you need to have in your tool belt. So I'm going to go through, Alexis did a great job on going through some of the questions. I'm going to go through some of the little fun facts around LTP Mama and really do a deep dive with you guys on how we could use this and why this is important. So when we're talking about location, I want you guys to write this down. Location equals lifestyle. Location equals lifestyle. When you know where someone's moving, like, for example, if someone says, Alexis, I want to be in, this county, I want to have at least 5 acres. I mean, I want to be I want to be able to go outside and not see a neighbor.
Okay.
What do you think is that they're thinking about their move?
I mean, they're just on where they're going.
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to tell you what lifestyle they want to live. Exactly like you said. Like, what does that move do for them?
Yeah. So you guys, let's think about this. When we know where someone's moving, we can then assess their personality.
So tell me what you mean by that.
So think about it. High eyes, we want to be in the mix of things, right? Like, if someone's like, oh my gosh, I want to live, downtown in this specific area. I've got to be this street, this street, this street, because I go to this restaurant. This is my favorite coffee shop, right? Like, they're going on and on and on. You can assess and go, okay, I know what personality I'm getting ready to, connect with.
Yeah.
So location is lifestyle, and location helps us when it comes to personality coding. It also helps us in building rapport and knowing what rapport tips that we can use whenever we walk into that appointment.
Yeah, and I want to add in here, because San Antonio for us is a huge area. We could be driving an hour for a listing appointment. So when they say, oh, we're moving to this area, we're selling in this area, our default response is always, that's such a great area. We sell so many homes in that area, right? I could have no clue where that area is. And that's such a great area. We sell so many homes in that area. I'm really excited to work with you.
Yep, that's exactly right. And then timeline. You guys, their timeline equals their objection. So write down timeline equals objection. What do you mean, Emily? Well, I mean, whenever we ask someone, so Alexis, ideally, we find, the perfect house in Ozark County. And it is, 4 bedrooms and it's got 3 bathrooms, like all of your must-haves, okay?
Okay.
It comes on the market today. What stops us from making an offer?
Well, we really want the equity out of our house, so we would need to get our house under contract first.
There we go. Timeline equals objection. You see how that just worked? I asked what would stop her from making an offer and moving forward, and the objection just fell right out. She has to take the equity out of her house into the next one, which then can eliminate some of these, or where you can then, as the expert, as the agent, control the conversation and go, well, hey, Alexis, earlier, I know that you said when it comes to mortgage that you would need to take that equity out of your house. Just out of curiosity, what do you believe to be, top dollar for your home? You see how this can naturally, once you understand the questions to ask, how you can naturally play in and out of the conversation?
Yeah. So let's dance into that one on price, because that's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, because price range, when we understand that price range, we know who we're negotiating with. That's what that tells us. Who are we negotiating with? So Alexis, what are some of the questions that you ask around the price range?
Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you had to guess, what would your house sell for in today's market? Right? Like literally write that down. If you had to guess, realistically, what do you think your house will sell for in today's market? And then go a step further. And if they say, well, because here's a great objection, I don't really know. That's what I'm hiring you for. Like, I have no clue. I want you to tell me. Okay, great. If you had to guess, like 200s, 300s, and they're constantly going to go back and go, oh, no. It's more like 500s. Great. Are we talking low 500s or high 500s? Well, we're really hoping for like 520. Bingo. And I can say, great, we're going to spend 2 to 3 hours preparing for our appointment and go and preparing a CMA for you, a market analysis, yet in your opinion. And then go, so out of curiosity, where are you getting that information? Right? Is it their estimate? Is it what their neighbor's house sold for? Because we want their perspective. You're going to have your own when you do your homework and you go out there. You want to know what you're handling or what you're going up against with what they're thinking.
Yeah. And I think that that's where the price point leads right into the motivation, you guys. On motivation's the why, it's not the what. How many times do we say, oh yeah, you're relocating. Awesome. Where are you moving? Oh, I'm moving to San Antonio. Oh, that's exciting. It's a lot warmer there, or, and so forth. Or we say, oh, I'm downsizing. Oh, that's exciting. So looking to get into something smaller. Yep. And we just accept that. What's the reasoning why they are making the move? Why are they relocating? Why are they downsizing? You guys, that is really the key when we're having a conversation, to connect the pieces with them so we really understand their motivation. They're relocating. Maybe it's because it's a job and it's, their dream job, and they're really excited. And it's like, oh my gosh, just get me to San Antonio as soon as possible so I can go live my best life. Maybe they're downsizing because they lost a spouse. And this is, not the best situation for them. And it's not exciting. And it's not, something that they're just looking forward to. When we know why they're doing something, it allows you to show up with care and how you care for them, and how you can articulate, hey, I know that this is, going to be a tough thing for you. And I know that this is uncomfortable because, your husband, handled all of this for you. And this is exactly why we need to work together, and why hiring me, I'm going to show up. I'm going to help you through this entire process from A to Z. And I'm going to be here for you every step of the way, because I do this every single day. And that's exactly what you need. You need somebody who sells properties every single day, not someone who does it on the side, not someone who, just sells a couple houses a year. You need somebody who is an expert so they can guide you and you feel like you're making a sound decision, because that's really what you want, Alexis, isn't it?
Yeah. And I see in the chat box, someone asked if this was on the initial call. Yes, guys, this is our pre-qual. And a pre-qual for us usually lasts about 20 to 30 minutes, because if they're interviewing multiple agents, do you really think these other agents are going to take the time to let them feel heard? Because remember, when you lead the conversation, that's the person asking the question. So you want to ask really great questions so you can get great answers, get them talking, because when they have spent 30 minutes telling you what the move does for them, what they think it's worth, all of these things, when you walk in, you're already ahead of your competition, right? You already have rapport built, and you already have so many of the answers to set you up for success in your listing appointment.
That's exactly right. Your pre-qualification is your pathway to close. Your pre-qualification is your pathway to close.
Y'all write that down. So the next one is agency. What does that mean to you, Emily? Because to me, it's just, do I have competition? Are you interviewing multiple agents from the job to sell your house? Or when we meet, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, will you be prepared to sign a listing agreement with me at 3:30? Or right, if we've said it. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. And I like to go a step further, Alexis. And, this, that, I like to ask people, what specifically are you looking for, in hiring an agent? when you have X, you know that you're going to move forward with that person. Is there anything that you're looking for specifically in hiring an agent? They're going to tell you if you ask that question. When you just, say it in a way of, if you want to write this down so you say it correctly, is what specifically are you looking for in the agent that you hire for the job of selling your home quickly for top dollar?
All right, I'm going to top grade that.
What specifically are you looking for?
I ask, what are the top 3 things you're looking for? Because before we trial close, right, we go, okay, so if they, like Emily, if you told me, hey, I'm looking for someone who has an aggressive marketing strategy, and I want someone who is really a neighborhood expert and someone who's going to be honest with me in pricing. Right before I trial close them, before the CMA, I go, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you told me, Emily, you told me you are wanting someone with an aggressive marketing strategy. Have I proven to you that we have a super aggressive strategy? And you say,
yes.
Mr. Seller, you also told me the second most important thing for you in making the best decision for the agent to hire was somebody that was, that's going to be a neighborhood expert, right? Have I proven that to you? She says, yes. And then the third was, you told me it was really important that we're going to be honest in pricing. And we can say, we're about to go through that, but you get them to say yes, yes, yes to the 3 most important things to them. And then you can trial close, right? Like, what would stop us from moving forward today? Now that's in the listing appointment, but in the pre-qual, you're setting, like Emily said, we're setting ourselves up to be able to have a super strong close in the appointment.
That's exactly right. So when we go into, the mortgage, again, you guys, this is just their next step. So understanding their financials so we can help them make the best next step. How many times have we been at an appointment? Someone says, well, I just need to really think about this, or I need to line out the financials or call for my payoff. I need to do this. I need to do this. And then I'll make a decision. We want to have all of that out of the way so they know at that appointment when we're sitting face to face that they're financially making the best next step.
Yep.
And then we close, like Alexa said. Then we do our favorite thing. We close because we've showed up like the expert. We took that next step. We were pre-qualified this client. So we showed up how they intended us to show up for and close the deal. So LTP MAMA pre-qual is step number 2. So success strategy number 3, having a clear, unique value proposition.
Yep.
So how many times have you guys been in an appointment and someone said, or you've been on the phone with someone, they said, all you agents do the same thing. You guys literally just throw it on the MLS, or you've been in an appointment and they have said to you, honestly, I can sell this myself. Like, it's not hard to sell a house in today's market. And some of you have maybe, and this is okay, to admit this, but some of us have maybe questioned and been like, you know what, they really can sell on the house themselves.
Well, that's true in today's market. We're in a seller's market, and most people, realistically, they can go put a for sale by owner sign out, or it's just not that hard. But that's not who they're looking for, right? They're looking for the agent that can net them the most amount of money while bulletproofing the transaction and making it a simple and pleasant experience, right? So it's not just about who can go sell the house. It's who can put the most money into your pocket.
That's exactly right. For those of you who are curious on, well, how do I find and articulate my unique value proposition? Where do I even start? I would start at page 95 of the MREA, where Gary literally lines out seller propositions. He lines out the top 10 seller propositions for homeowners. And this is for you and how to present and choose one, right? We know the power of the one thing. Choose one of those areas that you feel really confident and comfortable in. Write out, practice, articulating, your unique value proposition. So you're comfortable enough to close and say, Alexis, here's the thing. You're right. You could go put a sign in your yard. You could, list with this discount brokerage at 4% just to put it on the MLS. And yet at the end of the day, it's not about selling your home. At the end of the day, it's about walking away with the most amount of money in your pocket. Can we agree?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
So let's really focus on and work through how I can help you get there. And so that's then your guys' unique value proposition that in your appointment. So it's like your secret sauce, right? When you show up to that appointment, this is, and again, by pre-qualifying through LTP MAMA, the personality of the person that you're getting ready to meet, right? You've spent 20 to 30 minutes on the phone with them. You know what their goals are. You know their motivation of why, not what. You know that if they're interviewing multiple agents, and if you're interviewing that discount broker that, you maybe, go up against a lot. You already know these things. So you are preparing yourself mentally for how you show up. And it's being clear and really believing your unique value proposition, because I believe that you all have a value, right? If we didn't have a value, Zillow would be taking over, and that's not happening. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was going to say, for us, our value proposition oftentimes is our marketing, right? It's here are all the things that we do differently than our competition. You've heard, like Emily said, the 3 Ps. We're not going to be that agent that does the 3 Ps, that puts a sign in a yard, puts it in MLS, and sits back and prays that somebody brings us an offer. We're going to do, and whether that's your 10-step plan or your 25-point plan, like, here's what we're going to do differently and what we're willing to do that no one else is willing to do to yield you these results. So for us, our value proposition is our marketing plan and our results. But I would really encourage you guys, go to page 95 in the MREA, read through those, and then you choose what you're most passionate about. Because when you're super passionate about what you choose, it's going to come really naturally for you to get excited and talk to you about with these sellers.
That's right. And it doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be anything that's like this big thing, right? Sometimes we feel like, wow, it has to be so big for somebody to list a house, or I'm going up against this really big competitor that, does more business than anyone in town. And, I've got to have this, earth shattering value prop. You just have to show up and care and be very clear on your value that you're going to bring. So love that. So what's strategy number 6, Alexis?
Message of the market. This is also one of my favorites because it's just so important that we know our numbers, the numbers of the market, and that, again, you're practicing and you're able to very quickly and concisely articulate that message of the market. And when you can do that and you know your numbers, that sets you guys up as the expert in your profession, in your area. And I remember a time early in my career when they asked me what my average days on market were, what my sales to list price ratio was, and how many homes I had sold that year. And I didn't know. And I lost the listing, and it was in my neighborhood. And Emily, I was devastated. And so when I called to follow up and say, hey, what specifically caused you to choose the other agent? They said, well, you didn't really know your numbers. And from there moving forward, I said, I will absolutely know my numbers and the market numbers before any future listing appointment.
That's so true. And you're not the only one. Like, we've all had an experience in our early career where we've been sitting in front of someone. They're like, oh yeah, and my neighbor, or that house across the street, the house down the street that's for sale. And you're like, I have no idea about the house down the street. And so that has happened to the best of us. And, there are so many numbers that we can know. And I think the key thing, you guys, is what are the numbers that we need to know? So when you're going to a listing appointment, you need to know from that location, right? So however someone's going to differentiate, and some of that is going to be zip code, some of that school district. For all of you guys, it's a little bit different depending on where you're at, across the board. And yet you need to know in that target area, what's the average days on market? What is the average days on market?
And then if you're selling in there, or even if you're not, and you can always talk about your market center, how does yours differ, right? If the average days on market is 37 and yet yours is 21, that's value proposition, right? So always be able to give a comparison if that is beneficial for you, right, with your numbers.
Yeah. And the other thing is some of you are thinking, well, I maybe have never sold a listing, or maybe I've never sold a listing in that area. So how am I going to show up? Like, I want to go take territory in this area and I don't know how. Use your brokerage numbers, right? There's always a way. We've got language of real estate reports. Have your market center leadership help you and guide you through that if you're not clear how to do that. But just use the numbers that you can. The other thing is, what's the list price to sales price ratio? So when properties are listing at X amount on average, what percentage are they on average selling at? Is it, that they're selling at 98%? Is it 93%? Is it 101%? In some markets, what is that? That's going to help you articulate to a seller what they can expect in the area for supply and demand and what to expect in negotiations, because we've never had an unrealistic seller, have we?
Yep, never.
The other thing
that's a really big one to write down is your sales price to list price ratio. If you don't know it, or you've only sold 3 houses, go back and do the math, because that really, you can tell the seller, this is our proven track record of results, and this is what you can expect from our level of negotiation. Because when you choose to hire me, when you choose to hire us, you're choosing these results, right? And this is, so if let's say mine is 99% and the market's is 95%, that's a 4% delta. If I'm listing a $500,000 house, I'm gonna go, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, just by choosing to hire me, you're setting yourselves up to net 4% more. Out of curiosity, what would you do with an additional $20,000? Because on average, that's how much money I'm netting you, just like my other sellers. So being able to articulate that and know your numbers is really important. It's what we want you to take away from this.
Yeah, I love that. And, knowing how many houses have gone on the market, how many houses have expired or canceled, and then how many houses have sold. So even that way you could say, 85% of the houses in this county are selling. And again, then you can articulate that. So then they truly understand, because if somebody doesn't understand fully what decision they're going to make, or what it is, if they don't understand, are they going to make a decision, you guys?
No.
So we have to show up as the expert and guide them through and say, here's the facts. You may have heard a lot of things, or Billy from ABC Realty, could have come in here and said this, and yet here's what is actually the fact. And show them visually these numbers, and then go, well, and then just have them self-discover, go, yeah. And, what does this look like for you guys? What are you guys thinking after knowing these numbers? How do you feel about the real estate market right now?
So we got a question in the chat box, Jason, and you said, do you use absorption rate? I absolutely talk about months supply, right? So right now in my area, we're at 1.9 months supply. And when you even are educating your seller about that, saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, an average market for us, a balanced market is 6 months of inventory. We're at 1.9. That means if no new listings were to hit the market, it would only take 1.9 months, not even 2 months, for there to be 0 inventory, which puts us in an insanely hot seller's market, right? And so again, just knowing your numbers is setting you guys up for success to be looked at as the expert in your area. And you could have never been to this area before, never sold a property in this area, yet doing your homework and showing up prepared does not give that perception or that perspective to the seller.
That's right. You guys, in the absence of value and market knowledge, it becomes a pricing conversation.
Y'all write that down. Say that again, Emily.
In the absence of value and market expertise, it becomes a pricing conversation.
Yep.
So that's just something to, test yourself with, is if people are asking you to cut your commission, if people are asking you to negotiate, that's a challenge and a game to play with yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the fifth strategy, this, I know, we are very, very passionate about this topic. It is practicing scripts through role play. So Alexis, you've got a great analogy on this. Why don't you share that with us?
So I was telling Emily the other day that it reminds me of my TikTok practice, because I was not gifted or born with natural dance abilities. My husband, however, was. And so my kids wanted us to do a TikTok, and it took me literally like 15 times to remember the basic dance. And so I was telling Emily the other day, it's role play is like remembering a TikTok dance, because if you, right after I did it, could I nail it? Yes, I did. Ask me to do that same dance 3 days later, or even a week later, and much less 3 weeks later, there's no way I could nail it. And that's how we treat scripts. So Emily, you mentioned at the beginning of the call, on my team, we do role play for an hour every single day, Monday through Friday, because we know if we don't use it, we lose it. It's no different than TikTok dance or a second language, right, Emily?
That's exactly right. You guys, practicing scripts and role play, how you show up is so important. If you're showing up and you're practicing on your client, can you really fault them going with another agent or asking you to cut your commission, right? It's all about how we show up. You get out of something what you put into it. And it's just getting real. Sometimes, I don't know if, you guys are ever like me, but sometimes I don't like to suck at things. Like, I like to just be great at everything. And if I'm not great at it, I really don't want to do it and remind myself how bad that I am at it. And sometimes that's how scripts can be, right? We feel uncomfortable. We're like, I know real estate. I've sold, X amount of houses. I know how to negotiate contracts. I know how to do this. But whenever we show up and we're like consulting or presenting, it doesn't feel sometimes like we've done that, right? It doesn't feel sometimes like you've nailed it over 100 times. Yeah. So like Alexa said, when you don't use it, you lose it. And we have to dedicate script and role play. It has to be a part of our everyday life. Because I mean, how can you expect to win the Super Bowl if like you think that, the Super Bowl teams are not showing up to practice? Heck no, they're practicing their tails off, right?
But seriously, Emily, like I've been doing this for 17 years. This is the most competitive market I've ever been. I go on at least 3 appointments a week, listing appointments, and I go up most of the time against 2 to 4 other agents. Like, I can't remember the last time I didn't have competition. It is such a skill set based market that I mean, we have to practice. That's part of the reality. If that is not in your calendar, go back to number 1. I know some of you guys are asking what the first strategy was. Put it in your time, or put it in your calendar and put it on repeat Monday through Friday.
Yeah, that's it. So let's go back through the 5 strategies. So the first one was to time block your schedule. The second one is pre-qualify your consultations using LTP MAMA. Have a clear, unique value proposition. Know your numbers. It'll help you articulate your message of the market. And then role play and practice daily. So let's go back to the one thing, right? If there was one thing that you could take from today's time together, which we're super grateful that y'all jumped on the week of Christmas. I know it's a busy week that you jumped on to learn with us. And yet if there was one thing that you can implement, you guys, it's just getting your schedule and your calendar time blocked. Because if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And when you look at role play, when you look at knowing your numbers, when you look at your UV LTP, pre-qualification, schedule. All of that just is a reflection of your calendar. If you're role playing every day, it's in your schedule, right? Oh, there's number 5. If you have on your calendar, check daily market numbers, right? You could put that in your calendar. You can start learning, practicing CMAs, right? Practicing how to, some of you want to go practice taking territory in a specific neighborhood, or maybe you want to gain market share in a specific area, increase your average price point, right? We all want to work smarter, not harder, right? When we do that, just take 30 minutes and just go play in your MLS and pull the data.
Yeah. If y'all don't have the time block to plan for your time blocking, put that in there, right? So on our team, we have it from 11 to 12. I think is when they do it. I know I do mine from 1 to 2, but we have that in there every Friday, and then we share it. And we make sure that we're sharing a screenshot of our calendar, our 411, and that's just a priority of where is our time going to be spent next week? Because stuff comes up, especially during the holidays, right? Or you have a doctor's appointment or something, but make sure you're spending at least an hour of thinking time getting your next week really clear with your calendar. And the more you do that, the easier it gets, because all these things repeat at the same time every week.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You guys, Alexis and I are super excited. Speaking of calendar, in Q2, we're launching the Mega Listing Agent 12-week group program. So it launches, it's 12 weeks. It is a deep dive. Like today, we've just been water skiing. We've told you, okay, here are some top strategies that we know works in today's market that are tried and true. And yet we're going to do a deep dive of execution, right? Like if we want to do something, that's great. If we think about it, that's great. But it really comes down to the execution level and doing what we say we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do week over week, is we're going to dive deep into one specific thing that creates the Mega Listing Agent over 12 weeks. The investment is $199 a month for 3 months. So it's not, you don't have to pay it all up front. And honestly, you guys would have to try not to take a listing. And we know that there is no try, right? In this course.
Yep. And I just want to say really quick, I was in a cycling accident this year. And so I was in a wheelchair for 3 months, and I've got 3 kids under the age of 10, 8, and 3. So, and we had this whole pandemic thing. If I can still take 100 listings and still hit my 3 a week in a wheelchair with 3 kids at home during COVID homeschooling, a husband that has a full-time job, I promise you, we can teach you how to do the same thing.
That is exactly right. And I will tell you guys that I have the privilege of coaching and working with Alexis, and literally, you guys, it's simple, it's not easy, and it's all about the commitment. So how you show up here is how you show up everywhere. You've shown up today by taking the time, like we said, the week of Christmas. We're going to open this up for Q&A, but we just wanted to first thank you just for taking your time, let you know that we've got a program launching. We're so excited and just grateful to share with you guys the success strategies of how do you take, anywhere from a listing a week to a listing a day to maybe just a listing a month, right? These are the top strategies from listing agents that, on average take 100 to 200 listings every single year.
Yeah. Emily, what I like about what you said really quick was we're going to teach you guys how to simplify to scale and what those systems and scripts are, because it's all about simplifying this. We're not overcomplicating things. We're just going to simplify the heck out of it for you. All right. So can we do some Q&A, Emily?
Yes, we can, you guys. So if you want to either unmute yourself or type a question in the chat box, we're going to spend the last till the bottom of the hour just Q&A. So have a question, ask us.
Yep.
Hey, this is Fatima. Hi, thank you so much for your class today. It's super inspiring, and man, I feel like I feel like with what was it, Alexis, who talked about her crazy experience and was able to prevail like such numbers. I'm like inspired. I just wanted to know, as far as like marketing, I know that it's with open houses being limited and everything. Like, how can we really be different and push some great marketing this day?
Let me get clear on your question. So are you talking about during the holidays right now for marketing?
Or just in general, like how do you, like, what's the best way, or like what are great techniques to really put to be just different from the competitors as far as marketing a listing, and how does one be different from the other?
Emily, I'll take the first part of that. I am going to say go back to your unique value proposition, because when you get really clear on that and what you offer, then bring your personality, right? Like everybody wants to know that they can see through, and they can see when you're being authentic and your true self, right? So as far as marketing, if you're on social media or anything you're doing in print or email, bring your personality, bring your character, because you don't want to look like everyone else. You want to be able to be different. Being different is what helps us stand out. But I would say number one, like go back to your unique value proposition and figure out what it is that you're really good at or that you want to be really good at. And if you work buyers and sellers, I'll give you a really quick story. 7 years ago was taking a course like this, and they said focus on listings. And if that was the only thing that I did, everything else would become easier. And it was a really impactful day for me, because I just said, you know what, I'm going to get rid of my Supra. I'm not even going to give myself the ability when my willpower is low to say yes to a buyer. So I haven't even had a Supra to like a lockbox key to open a door. If my husband wanted to go look at a house, I'd have to call my buyer agent. But I think that example is just get really clear on what you want to focus on and what your value proposition is. And the rest should become easier.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Juan says, how do you respond when your clients feel like you are too curious and they make it awkward when you ask why, and they feel like it's none of your business? You don't need to know why I'm moving. So I'll take this one. This is something that like I just speak to all the time. So you guys, we just call it what it is. So in the beginning of a call, I always like to just say what it is. I like to say, so Alexis, I really want to understand what's important to you about the process of moving. And to be able to do that, I'm going to ask you some questions. So I don't want you to feel like I'm interviewing you or like this is like too personal. I just really, this is a really big decision. This is the biggest financial decision that most people make in their entire life. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want you to feel comfortable and confident in who you're trusting with the greatest asset that you own. Fair enough?
Yeah, fair.
When you say it like that, because again, guys, is it not one of the greatest assets that they own?
Usually, yes.
When you put it in there and you just call it for what it is, then it makes them, they go, oh, that makes sense, versus like, it's none of your business. This is a big deal.
Yep. Do you set your own appointments? Do you have an ISA? Y'all, I'm a really small team. So I still set the majority of my appointments. We do. Our one thing this year is our ISA side of the business. So what I want you to hear from that is, yes, we're hopefully getting our ISA team in place, and you can still do this, right? You don't need to have an ISA team to be setting this amount of appointments, because when you get really clear on what the script is, my conversion rate is north of 95%. How many less appointments would you have to go on if you knew that on 9.5 of the 10 appointments you went on, you were walking away with a signed listing agreement? Because that's my reality. And I can assure you the only way I got there was plugging into programs that MAPS has and getting, so my coach is Emily, and plugging into MAPS.
Yeah. And I will tell you guys that, you know, when you scale, you want everything to be very simple and you want to know what specifically it is you're scaling. And the thing is that, you know, even like with Alexis, I see a lot of questions in the chats about sources. What is the source that you guys feel very confident in when you're in front of this person, right? So when you're in front of this type of client, when are you at your best? When are you the most confident? When are you unafraid to close because you feel your value so much? Like you're like, I am the agent for you. And that's the thing is, you know, when you know those sources and you know, Alexis is, you know, she's got a great farm that she, you know, a target specific market that she does with her past clients and Sphere. And yet for you guys, you know, some of you may be Sphere past clients, some of you may be farms, some of you may be FSBOs, expireds, open houses. We're going to do a deep dive into specific tactics, social media throughout our course. Like, I can't tell you, like, we've chunked this down so simple for you guys and given you really honestly the playbook so you can just go run the play and practice. The key word though is you've got to practice so you can be confident in the play. Oh, this is a fun one. Emily and Alexis, what time does your day start and what does your morning routine look like? This is fun because I know that we are very, very intentional on this.
Yeah, go for it.
So my day starts every day at 4:30. So I wake up at 4:30 a.m. I start off, I first go make coffee because it's 4:30 in the morning. So I go and I make coffee. While I make coffee, I literally like use the bathroom, that kind of stuff. And then I start every day off with gratitude. So I start every day off with gratitude and journaling. Then I do yoga because then my mindset's right. I start every morning off with yoga. Then my kids do yoga with me. My kids wake up super early. I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they literally, it's the funniest thing. My 4-year-old boy is like, like it's so funny. But anyways, so we have like this family affair morning routine. And then, you know, we all journal, and then we do breakfast together, love each other, and then I send them off to school. So that's goes by.
I don't know that I can follow that one. So I mean, so I get up between 5:30 and 6. I don't have coffee until after 10 a.m. I can only allow myself one coffee a day. And mine is also very health-based, right? So we get a workout in the morning. We are eating primarily veggies. We've cut out dairy and meat. So mine right now is similar to Emily's that I think what you focus on expands. We're really focused on health and quality time with the kids. I have that quality time before putting them on the bus. So my day probably starts a little bit later, but it still starts at 6 and I am completely focused on work by 8 a.m. What else is on here that we want to answer?
Yeah. So
what are the 3 things to start doing to become a listing agent? I'm going to say mindset. For me, that was the first one because I was working both buyers and sellers. And so just making the decision to commit to learn the listing side of the business is number 1. I would say number 2 is practice, right? Because when you do get your first listing appointment, or you're starting, you know, you want to know, you want to feel confident going into that appointment and know what to say. And then Emily, what would you say the third one is after mindset and practice?
Schedule. Then it's just following your schedule. I like to break down 30, 60, 90s, and Alexis knows this, but you know, I like to focus on it's the systems that you're going to practice with. So it's having your systems, and then it's getting your skill set increased. So that's practicing your skills. And then it's following your schedule. It's like the 3 S's of success: system, skill set, schedule. If you could do those 3 things, everything else becomes easier and necessary. You know, Alexis, I'm seeing a lot of a lot of questions even around mindset of, can I really become the mega listing agent? And can I really take listings? You know, one of the things that I will tell you, I'll share just a fun little story with you guys. When I was in production and on a team, we hired agents primarily that were never in real estate. So we hired agents from outside industry and trained them up. One of my greatest privileges is I partnered with an amazing agent, and her name was Rebecca, and she came in and she literally just embraced and practiced scripts, really mastered the schedule, understood like, hey, we're going to fall and get back up every single time. Okay. And we're going to learn together. We're going to grow. We're going to really practice. At 24 years old, she literally listed she sold 124 listings her first year. So not having knowledge of, what it was like to be a listing agent, those skills, I tell you that not to boast or brag, or, people can say numbers all the time. Why I'm sharing that with you guys is the only one that's stopping you from being the mega listing agent is you. And Alexis and I care about y'all enough to tell you that, because we've had this same limiting beliefs and the same mindset of, can we really do it? How can we really go take 5+ listings a week? How is this even possible? And when you really chunk it down and you really focus on, it's simple, not easy, right? So we focus on those simple tactics on how to do it, which is what we outline in the course and kind of what we did today, right? These 5 tactics. I trust that you all got value from that. Then what you do and how you show up from there is all on you. But we can't let experience ego. I've had experience ego. I'm sure I'm not the only one on this call right now. But when we start something new, or we decide, right, we make the decision that we're going to be listing based and listing focused, and we're going to go take that unfair share. It's all in how you believe that you can do it, and that you're willing to suck for a temporary time, right? Because you will get better.
I see a lot of questions in here around leads too. So we're going to teach you, that's one of the first things that we cover in our course on so a lot of my business is from my farm. It's all within a 10-minute drive time, which is that was intentional, right? I set out to achieve that. And a lot of it's Sphere, and now it's past client referrals. But we'll go through the lead generation aspect of that and teach you guys how to go find the appointments, so that when you are setting the appointment, now everything else flows nicely.
Yeah. And the cool thing too, just so you guys know, is that my business was really focused on cold leads. So like FSBOs, expired, circle prospecting. I really liked to hunt for some reason and work really hard. And then years later was like, there has to be a smarter way. Where Alexis was like the opposite. Like, she's way smarter than I am. And she really focused on the farm and the past clients and loving her people. So you're going to get a really good dynamic of like yin and yang, right? Of how to go prospect and then how to love the people after you prospect. So then you really have a data bank versus a bunch of, people, names and numbers in a database, which I know none of you are like that, that you don't reach out to. So,
hey, Emily, can you really quick, because I see a ton of questions on this chat box about role play. Can we just mention Role Play Rumble really quick?
Yeah, so we have we're really excited. We've got a program launching in January called Role Play Rumble, and it's offered through the KWRI marketplace with maps. And we're super excited, you guys. It's a role play group where you're going to be able to come together, practice together with 3 times a week at 10 a.m. in your specific time zone with a dedicated role play group. We take all the thinking out of it, make it super simple. We give you the best script for your specific role. Alexis is the Role Play Rumble listings coach. So you will be practicing the listing consultation and setting expectations, and it's $50 a month, and we're launching in January. So we'll get you guys that information as well as our program for the mega listing agent in April. We're so excited, you guys, just to grow with you. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot through this journey with you as well. The 3 S's again were systems, skill schedule. So I appreciate you all. We're so grateful that you spent some of your holiday break, and we trust that you guys are going to go implement and execute, and we'll see you back soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.